Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up here on today's show, I got some can't-miss, must-see Raiders rumors after the Carolina Panthers game. We're going to be talking about Antonio Pierce, Maxx Crosby, Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell. And I don't know if you guys heard AP say that he thought some people made some business decisions. Well, I'm going to take my best guess and point out who I think that he was talking about in that press conference, because there were some guys making some business decisions. But we got to talk about our sponsor here, Panda Sups. I love them. I was really hoping I'd be able to hook you guys up with a better discount code. When the Raiders win, we do just one, baby. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Use code Raiders for 20% off at pandasups.com. I'm sipping on some of my nootropics right now to help me get through this brutal Monday, especially after just finding out Marcus Epps is done for the season. Let's go through some of these, though. Antonio Pierce's seat is starting to heat up. I'm not saying fire AP, but let's be real. That seat is a hot, spicy meatball. For just win, babies. AP seat's getting hot. And I'm not going to be someone up here that's going to rip him from top to bottom. He's only got 3 games in right now, and with a win against Cleveland, with a win against Denver, we're quickly back onto the AP's the guy thing. But he needs to be able to figure it out. If you're going to sit up there and say certain players made business decisions as a head coach, you got to sit back and go, well, why are players making business decisions? That's on you, too. The Raiders right now look like the worst team in the NFL after 3 weeks. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to do NFL Power Rankings for Chat Sports. I am going to have the Raiders as the worst team in the National Football League right now, because you just lost to the Carolina Panthers. I don't want to hear just Andy Dalton, new quarterback. Tried to warn you. Andy Dalton was in his bag. This Raiders defense played bad. That's on AP. Yes, the Luke Getsy offense looks bad too, but here's the thing. AP, he's not calling plays on offense or on defense. This is supposed to be a team that is a brotherhood that plays strong week in and week out. And you thought that maybe you were going to get that after the comeback from Baltimore, but let's face it, that game against Carolina was one of the worst games that I have seen a Raiders team play in a very long time. Every single aspect of that game, no heart, didn't look like that they wanted to be out there, would rather be somewhere else. And to me, that's a few things. Either A, you didn't prepare well enough during the week, your team wasn't ready to go, and both of those things fall on your head coach. Yeah, there's a lot of other issues with this team, no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, this falls on Antonio Pierce, and if you come out week 4 and lay another stinker, then you come out week 5, lay another stinker. I promise you this, I want the Raiders to keep AP, and I want AP to be the right man for the job. But if that's the way that this Raiders team looks under Antonio Pierce and we can't make any corrections, it will be a 1 year and done for Antonio Pierce, especially if you got a top 5 pick. If the Raiders have a top 5 pick and you have an opportunity to go out and get a franchise quarterback, I want that franchise QB to have an offensive-minded head coach, because I need a franchise quarterback. The Raiders need a franchise quarterback. Raider Nation needs a franchise quarterback. But you also need a head coach that knows what he's doing with that franchise guy, because it ain't Luke Getsy, it ain't Rich Scangarillo, and it's not really AP either, because he needs to be able to bring in somebody that can do the right thing. So bottom line is this. If we are in that spot to get a franchise quarterback top 5, you have to move on from Antonio Pierce. And here's the people that I would look at. If you told me right now I can get Cam Ward and Ben Johnson, sign me up. You told me right now I can get Cam Ward, Bobby Slowik, sign me up. Mike Vrabel might be a little bit of an unpopular opinion. Vrabel's on this list to me if the Raiders finish outside of that top 5 in terms of draft spots, but you still want to move on from AP. Todd Monken is a name to keep in mind. And you know what? Right now, one of my favorite coaches in all of college football is Josh Heupel for Tennessee. And I don't know if he would leave that head coaching job to come to the Raiders, but quite frankly, it would at least be something to keep in mind. Again, I'm not sitting up here saying fire AP, but if the Raiders play the way that they did against the Carolina Panthers yesterday, you're going to be a top 5 team. And if that's how your team plays week in and week out, Antonio Pierce can't be the head coach. And I think even AP would say something like that. Now, if you agree with what I'm about to say, I want you to hit that subscribe button. I will support the Raiders. I will support Antonio Pierce. I will always root for that team to win. Week in and week out, I will always root for the Raiders to win. I don't care if it's Gardner Minshew at QB. I don't care if it's Aiden O'Connell. I don't care if it's Mickey Mouse. I want the Raiders to win. If AP's bad and if he proves that he isn't the right man for the job, then the Raiders need to move on. If the Raiders have a top 5 pick and it's time to draft a quarterback, then you got to go out and find an offensive-minded head coach. I want Antonio Pierce to work. But here's the thing. It is the shield. It is Raider Nation above everything else. And if AP's not the right guy for the job, we got to be able to sit here as a nation and go, all right, it's time to move on. Let's go to the next thing. We're going to talk about Maxx Crosby's injury. And is the Crosby injury a serious one? I'm sitting up here going, yeah, this one's for just win, babies. Believe it, baby. We don't know the extent of the Crosby injury yet. But Crosby, after the game, said that right now he's dealing with a high ankle sprain. When you hear the words high ankle sprain, there should be alarm bells going off in your head going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. He was also dealing with a little bit of a knee injury entering this game, but when you look at the ankle injury, which I'm actually curious to see if the Raiders labeled the knee injury wrong, because I went back and I watched when the injury happened against Baltimore. It looks like more of an ankle injury that just got worse and worse and worse right here against the Carolina Panthers in Week 3. But he missed his first snap of the season against Carolina. In fact, I want to say he missed like 13 snaps in that game against Carolina and some pretty important spots. For Maxx to not play in a game, a snap might not be that big of a deal to some people, but he has yet to miss a snap this entire season. So the fact that he was missing snaps in big-time situations tells me everything I need to hear in terms of how serious this ankle injury is. Now, if it's a grade 1, this could be something that could heal in 1 to 3 weeks. A grade 2, some could potentially look at 3 to 6 weeks. A grade 3, by all medical professionals out there, a grade 3 ankle sprain is what's also known as a high ankle sprain. I talked to one of my buddies who is in the medical field, and he told me if the Raiders were smart, they would put Maxx Crosby on short-term IR, let him heal up for 4 weeks. The problem is, I don't know if Maxx is going to do that. Antonio Pierce on Monday spoke about protecting 98 from himself because he wants to go out there. He wants to play. He doesn't want to miss time. I mean, remember, this is a dude that he had a knee infection last season that could have cost him his life, and Maxx wanted to go out there and he wanted to play. I love Mad Maxx. He is the definition of what a Raider is from top to bottom. This guy is, I hope, a Raider for life. But because I say that, and I want Maxx to be a Raider for life, he's still a young player. He's the face of this franchise. What I don't want to happen is he goes out there with a high ankle sprain, not 100% healthy. AP said that right now he's probably around 80%, and I agree, 80%. And Maxx Crosby is still better than a lot of guys. But I also want to have Maxx for the long haul. And this season right now, after that Carolina game, you do have to consider, is it time to just, put him on the short-term IR, let him rest up and see what we can go out there and what we can do? Because if you put him on short-term IR right now, he's going to be back for the Kansas City Chiefs game in Week 8. So here's what I want the nation to do. I don't care if you're mad, if you're happy. If you're happy that the Raiders lost yesterday, you can go after yourself. But at the end of the day, anytime I ask you guys to do something about Mad Maxx, that's somebody who literally puts his life on the line for this team. If you don't spam 98, then you can get the hell out of here, man. Let's go to the next tier rumor. It is around Aiden O'Connell, and is he going to be the new starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders? Antonio Pierce would not commit on who he thought was going to be that starting QB for the Silver and Black up against the Cleveland Browns in Week 4. Here's the thing. I'm going to give it 3 just win, babies. I think it's pretty likely that you're going to see Aiden O'Connell this week against the Browns. And the reason why that I say that is, as a head coach, when you get asked the question, hey, who is Gardner Minshew essentially going to be the starting quarterback again? And your response is, well, I need to go talk to my team and just see what they have to say about everything, and then I'll come up with a decision. That tells me everything I need to know. If you can't stand up there at the podium as the head coach of a football team and make a decision, and you got to look for everybody else to give you the right decision, you've already made up your mind. And maybe the Raiders do need to go with Aiden O'Connell. Maybe that they have to. I'll say this. I don't think it matters who the Raiders QB is behind this offensive line right now. I don't think it matters who the Raiders QB is behind with this running game. I don't think it matters who the Raiders QB is with Luke Getsy calling plays. But I will admit, if the Carolina Panthers look the way that they did benching Bryce Young, and then that's the way Andy Dalton played, if you're the Raiders, you got to sit there and go, well, maybe if we bench Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell's going to go out there and look like the Red Rifle Andy Dalton and throw for 319 yards and drop 3 touchdowns. I don't know what the answer is. And quite frankly, I don't know if Aiden O'Connell is going to be better than Gardner Minshew. But what I do know is this. The fact that Antonio Pierce could not give an answer on who he thought the starting quarterback was going to be, and he's going to go talk to his team about it, tells me everything that I need to know. And I'm pretty confident, 3 just win babies, that Aiden O'Connell is going to be the Raiders starting quarterback week 4 against the Cleveland Browns. Coming up next here, I'm going to tell you, I got 4 players that Antonio Pierce said certain guys made business decisions. I got 4 players that I think AP was talking about, and 1 player I'm going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into that. Before I get into that, though, Panda Sups, they got these brand new tactical backpacks, which I feel like they're backpacks. They come in black, they come in white, really sick designs. Also, if you're trying to get a better workout in, you need that little extra boost. This blue snow cone pre-workout is off the wall. Use code Raiders for 20% off at pandasups.com. I will admit, it's some of the strongest pre-workout I've ever had, so if you don't usually take pre-workout, maybe take a half a scoop. There's even been, like, if Alex wants it, I'll tell her to take a quarter of a scoop. Like, that's how good this is. Now, also, you guys know that I have a big-time sweet tooth. The Campfire S'mores protein. I love this one with milk. They did just launch a brand new... It's like peanut. It's got peanuts, waffle cone, chocolate shavings, and a vanilla protein. It's almost, when you eat Panda Subs protein, a lot of times you're like, there's no way this is good for me, right? And I almost feel like that they made this because Chugs and I always talk about the Ninja Creamy and how we like to use Panda Subs protein. I'm talking about protein that's usually 30 grams of protein, somewhere in the, let's say, I don't know, 140 to 160 calories per scoop range. You can use it with milk. You can use it with water. You can use it before your workout. You can use it after your workout for a meal replacement. I don't eat when I'm at Chat Sports, so in the middle of the day, I usually have a protein shake. I love Panda Subs. I think you guys will too. Use code Raiders at pandasups.com. That link is going to be available to you guys down in the comments and in the description of today's show. All right, let's talk about some business decisions here. As the game went on, I think there was definitely some individuals that made business decisions, and we'll make business decisions going forward as well. We got our asses whooped. I would have booed us too. There's been a lot of people that have spoke about this, and when AP was asked on Monday about his business decisions comment, he basically said, I'm not somebody that bites my tongue. Pat McAfee and multiple other NFL media analysts out there don't really like the fact that Antonio Pierce called out his players. And quite frankly, I don't disagree with that. I also don't disagree with AP calling him out. What I do disagree with, though, is if a media member is going to ask Antonio Pierce, hey, when you're talking about certain players making business decisions, if you're going to have the nuts to go up there and call out people and say, oh, these guys are making business decisions, that's hard to say. You also got to be able to go up there as a man and say which people that was. Now, maybe you don't want to do that in front of the media, but you also did do that in front of the media. You went up in front of that podium and you said business decisions were made. If you're going to say that, all I ask is, hey, tell me who it was, because if you're going to start the fire, you might as well keep it going, right? So here are some people that I think AP called out. I'm going to go with Jack Jones. You go back and you watch a lot of film. Jones is not tackling. I don't know if he was in the school of Marcus Peters tackling, but that's what Jack Jones looked like against Carolina Panthers. Another guy who did a lot of ole, 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 Jacorian Bennett. I think Bennett's done a good job this season being able to lock down some players, but up against Carolina, this entire defense was not ready to go. And I know this next player that I'm about to bring up is going to cause some problems, and it's probably going to result in a lot of trade rumors, but I think he might have also been calling out Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams' effort in run-blocking situations it's not even there. And I hate bringing this up because, quite frankly, that's not really what you need Devontae Adams to do. Devontae Adams has never been somebody that you want to go out there and be a run blocker. But if we're going to talk about drama, think about also everything that has happened around Antonio Pierce and Devontae Adams. I'm not trying to start anything out of nothing, but you go back to AP saying all of his players are going to start in the preseason. And Devontae goes, I don't want to do that. Guess what? Devontae doesn't play in that preseason game. So I wonder if there's maybe something going on behind the scenes. And again, I don't want to make nothing out of anything, but he did say business decisions. And when you watch the tape, Devontae Adams was making business decisions in the running game. But then again, when he's the best receiver on your team, I don't really mind him making some of those business decisions. The final person I'm going to say is this, and I don't know if Antonio Pierce was talking about Dylan Parham, but when I was live on the show and I go, wow, Dylan Parham ended up getting benched for Jackson Powers-Johnson. I'm very surprised by that, considering the fact that Parham has been the Raiders' best offensive lineman this entire season. Then I hear AP say business decisions, and I go, well, I wonder if he was talking about Parham, because the only way you benching Dylan Parham makes any sense is if the coach, said, well, that guy was making business decisions. If AP wasn't talking about Dylan Parham, and then they ended up benching him instead of Cody Whitehair, instead of Andre James, that is a horrific coaching decision. And I don't know if that's going to fall on AP. It should fall on AP. It's also going to fall on Luke Getsy. It's going to fall on James Craig. But how the hell did Dylan Parham get benched? Again, if he's not talking about Parham in the business decision category, shame on you, Antonio Pierce. I don't even know what game you're watching, because Dylan Parham has been the Raiders' best offensive lineman this week, week 2, and week 1. He played 43 snaps. I liked what I saw out of Jackson Powers-Johnson. I did. I was impressed by the rookie, and I wanted to see the rookie go out there and do it. But, like, how the hell are you going to bench your most consistent guy where he's your most consistent guy? Like, how is that the decision that we are making? I mean, look at these PFF grades against Carolina. And, in fact, the highest graded player, according to PFF, was Dylan Parham at 78.5. Out of all players on the offensive side of the football for the Raiders. They used 7 different offensive linemen. But, like, you're not going to bench Cody Whitehair. I mean, all we were talking about was JPJ playing left guard. Then you put him in a right guard. That I thought was a little bit weird. Now, if Whitehair was out there doing his thing, maybe you decide that's the reason why you did it. But Whitehair's been horrific this season. Andre James played a little bit better against Carolina, but for the most part, he's been horrific this entire season. If Dylan Parham was not a part of the business decision players that Antonio Pierce was talking about, I don't know why Parham was benched. I don't know if I can trust the coaching decisions that are being made on a weekly basis, because this offense is offensive. And I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of watching this Raiders team. I need some answers. The nation needs some answers. So if you're going to stand up there on the podium and you're going to call players out and then you get asked about which players they are, reminder, you started this. You started the business decision conversation. I'm just trying to finish it here. Before I get out of here, reminder, Chugs and I, we're going to be live 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. Then we're going to be live Thursday Night Football. We have to wear Teletubby outfits. If you don't know this story, then you definitely need to tune in here. And then we go right back to it. I hope that next week at this time, we can all laugh about that Carolina Panthers loss. The only way that's going to happen is a win against the Cleveland Browns. You lose to Cleveland and that team that's been struggling as well, a team that just lost to the New York Giants, then this season might really, really, really be bad.